Colorado blasting past at near triple-digit speeds. The truck wove carelessly through lanes, barely avoiding a slower pickup hauling a trailer. Lights flashed, sirens wailed, and what should have been a simple stop instantly escalated into a full-blown pursuit.
It starts as routine patrol, radar hits, a quick lane violation, maybe a simple warning. But in seconds, brake lights vanish and throttles open wide. From Florida interstates to Arkansas backroads and Georgia connectors, this compilation turns everyday traffic stops into rolling battlegrounds. Pit maneuvers line up, spike strips deploy, and air units track from above. Every pursuit forces the same split-second question. Shut it down? Or end it now before someone innocent pays the price?
When the dust finally settled, the driver was identified as Kevin Donald Reardon II, and the truth behind his reckless choices came spilling out. Officers found empty bottles of liquor, more bottles still sealed marijuana drug paraphernalia, and prescription pills inside his truck. He was cleared medically before being taken to the Charlotte County Jail. A reminder once again that mixing alcohol, drugs, and a steering wheel is a cocktail that never ends well. On September 9th, 2023 in Bryant, Arkansas, a quiet day quickly turned uneasy. Officers had been alerted to a reckless driver, the kind who turns every stoplight into a gamble and every crosswalk into a risk. With each report of red lights blown and speeds climbing, police eyes were already searching the streets. The moment they finally spotted the vehicle, the clock started ticking towards something much darker. Tragically, disaster did catch up. The car left the road, rolled violently, and the driver was thrown from the wreckage. His injuries were fatal, and he did not survive. It stands as one more harsh example that running from the police only multiplies the danger, and in this case, the gamble cost everything. On May 12, 2023, a trooper sitting quietly on US 64 spotted something that shattered the calm. A car streaked past, tearing through the highway at over 100 miles per hour in a zone marked for just 55. For a split second, it looked like the driver might surrender, brake lights flickering as if to give in. But the illusion didn't last, and in that moment, the stage was set for one of the most reckless runs of the year.
We'll see if I get a chance. I'm on TV. He's driving crazy. He's just brake check, man. I've not rear-ended him, but we're still going. Still westbound, speed approximately 130 miles an hour.
There's a Woodruff County deputy that has spotted on Highway 64 at Timmy Miller shop. Still westbound, speed approximately 130 miles an hour.
TBI, TBI, TBI. TBI, TBI, TBI.
TBI.
Force red.
The driver, later identified as Adam Walker of Florida, didn't just give up after steel met steel. When the chase finally came to its chaotic end, he lunged at an officer, sparking a desperate struggle before he was wrestled to the ground. The charges stacked against him read like a laundry list of bad decisions: felony fleeing, multiple counts of aggravated assault, resisting arrest, reckless driving, and more. In the end, Walker's high-speed bravado collapsed under handcuffs, proving once again that every reckless sprint only digs the hole deeper. On November 9, 2022, Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies locked onto a stolen pickup truck, weaving its way across the city. From the ground, it looked like just another reckless driver, but from the air, deputies could see every sudden swerve and burst of speed. The pursuit that followed wasn't just fast, it was about to push danger into every lane it touched.
It is just too much to keep up with this morning, and this vehicle continues to drive extremely recklessly. And again, I have to be very clear: there are no officers behind it, and there is no way this person knows that he's being followed. We can bring up the speedometer for you. You know, that funny thing about that, earlier on when they first started following, whoa, there, oh, geez, oh. That's the suspect falling. Hopefully, just stay down. Just stay down. Just stay down. Oh my goodness! There you go. That's the guy. That's the guy that was in the black car right there. That's got to be adrenaline just getting him out of that car. Oh, what a tragic ending.
The suspect's final act was almost pitiful, hobbling away from the wreck as if speed would still save him. But quick steps and bold escapes were long gone, and deputies wasted no time making the arrest. In the end, the story of this chase wasn't about a daring escape, but about how quickly reckless choices can collapse into cold reality. On the evening of September 10, 2023, troopers were alerted to a stolen car speeding north out of Alma. Officer Brandon Williamson was the first to lock eyes on the vehicle, a Toyota Prius that had no intention of stopping. The driver was young, reckless, and determined to push the limits. By the time Corporal Shane Alkire joined in, the chase was already shaping up to be one for the record books.
County got spikes up the whole time.
On the ground. On the ground.
Once it was all over, the truth of the stolen car came out. The driver, later identified as Alyssa, a teenager, faced a long list of charges: reckless driving, speeding more than double the limit, felony fleeing, theft, and more. She was released into the care of her father after the crash, but the justice system will still have its say. It proves once again that the road has no mercy for those who think they can outdrive the law. September 15, 2022 was not just another afternoon on Arkansas highways. A man behind the wheel of a dark pickup had allegedly been making disturbing online threats aimed at law enforcement, the governor, and even others in his path. When word of those threats reached the Arkansas State Police, the mission shifted from routine patrol to a high-stakes pursuit. For Trooper Joseph Killian, it was about to become a test of nerves and precision on open pavement.
Just drive 40. You get a chance to get back to traffic. Repeating. And all right, that's 156, 107. That's 156, 107.
We'll probably get 56, 107.
Pit.
The suspect's wild run ended with handcuffs in the grass and a wrecked truck perched on a slope. Charges stacked high from resisting and fleeing to reckless driving, terroristic threats, and property offenses. For a man who thought he could back up online threats with horsepower, the final result was sobering, outmaneuvered by Arkansas State Police, and facing years of legal fallout. On the morning of May 15, 2024, the streets of Little Rock looked ordinary enough. A bright yellow Dodge Challenger rolled through neighborhoods, standing out like a highlighter on the asphalt. But it wasn't just the paint job drawing attention. The driver, later identified as Aaron Sadler, couldn't even manage the basics of staying in his lane, and that was all it took to spark the interest of a nearby trooper. The wild ride ended not with horsepower, but with handcuffs. Sadler was dragged out of his bad decisions and into Pulaski County Jail, where officers tallied up quite the list: over 4 pounds of marijuana bottles of promethazine THC edibles and nearly $4,000 in cash. What began as sloppy driving turned into a stack of felony charges, property damage, and seized money. Sometimes the fastest way to lose it all is to think you can outrun accountability. The sun was still up in Tallahassee on November 5th, 2024, but that didn't stop things from going dark fast. A stolen blue Mitsubishi shot out from Richview Road like it had demons at the bumper crossing into Appalachia Parkway, with zero interest in stopping. Behind the wheel was a man with no plan, just pedal. And right behind him, Florida Highway Patrol was bearing down. One trooper locked in and made the silent promise this chase would end on his terms.
Better stop.
Turns out the man behind the wheel was Antoine Jones, and he wasn't going anywhere after that. Officers placed him in handcuffs and transported him to the hospital for a quick check before booking him into Leon County Jail. Jones was charged with grand theft of a motor vehicle and fleeing and eluding. Let this one be a reminder: if you're trying to outrun a trooper who already has you in their sights, the only thing you'll be speeding toward is a jail cell. David Rourke probably thought he was invincible on September 29, 2023. 4 different drivers had already called him in reckless speeds, cutting people off and even flipping them the bird. To some, it looked like a man high on adrenaline, or maybe something stronger just begging for disaster. When troopers finally found him, his luck had already run out.
21 first E2, and you guys are waiting to take this ETS in Burgos County. Italy on it. First E2.
Trying to help me out and get him stopped. Don't shoot me, please. I got a daughter. All right. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. I got a daughter.
The rider was identified as David Rourke, and the trouble only deepened from there. Officers found a Smith & Wesson pistol tucked into his waistband, and Rourke admitted to taking drugs earlier in the day. Disoriented, rambling, and clearly not in control of himself, he was rushed to Christus St. Michael's Hospital, claiming a fractured neck. Another grim reminder: reckless bravado on 2 wheels can turn into a nightmare in seconds. January 2nd, 2023 was supposed to be just another day for Arkansas State Police Trooper Richard Surratt, but instead of routine patrol, he found himself chasing down one of the strangest getaways of the year. A Domino's delivery SUV, reported stolen, was tearing through the highways like it had a delivery deadline no one could miss. The whole scene had an odd twist of humor, but what unfolded was anything but funny.
Bit. Still rolling, back on the road. I'm gonna try to pit. $37 rolled over, EMS!
Eventually, the pursuit came to a close with the suspect yanked from the vehicle and taken into custody. The long list of charges included vehicle theft, felony fleeing, and reckless endangerment, among others. The most ridiculous part, all of this over a stolen pizza delivery SUV. It was a reminder that some crimes aren't just dangerous, they're downright absurd. On October 8, 2022, Arkansas State Police Trooper Nathan Williams got word that a silver Honda had fled from local authorities and was barreling his way. It was late at night, the kind of hour when the interstate is supposed to be calm, but instead headlights were about to streak by like lightning. For Williams, there was no easing into this one. The chase was practically being delivered straight to his front bumper.
number 3 lane now, corrected. 3045. Yeah, status interstate, multiple over.
Zero base headed.
445.
Secondary. Number 3 lane passing up. Yeah, started since 16, multiple rollover. Multiple rollover.
By the time the wreckage stopped, Williams and his fellow officers swarmed the mangled car and pulled the driver into custody. The charges practically wrote themselves: felony fleeing, reckless driving, speeding over 140 miles per hour, and endangering the public. It is proof once again that when you try to outrun the Arkansas State Police, you are only racing toward your own downfall. By the night of April 6, 2021, Forsyth County deputies had their hands full with a driver who refused to play by the rules. Behind the wheel of a pickup truck was a man weaving southbound on State Route 400, pushing speeds so high, even veteran officers knew this was trouble. Word crackled over the radio the driver might be impaired, and whatever was going on inside that truck was about to spill onto the highway. Georgia State Patrol was called in, and the chase shifted gears.
Here we go. Get it.
Make sure it's 1049.
50.
When the dust settled, the driver was identified as Jansen Cardell Jones, already wanted for probation violations linked to drug charges. Deputies found drug-related items among the evidence he had thrown out, sealing his fate. With charges piling up: felony fleeing, reckless driving, DUI, drugs, and more, Jones's wild run ended not with freedom, but with handcuffs. Sometimes the most dangerous gamble is thinking you can outrun the state boys. It was the night before Thanksgiving, November 27th to be exact, but for one Dodge Challenger racing north on Interstate 530, dinner plans clearly didn't include stopping for law enforcement. When the Grant County Sheriff's Office put out a call for help, one trooper answered without hesitation. What followed would be a reminder that no matter how fast you think you are, some roads only lead to one place. Despite the reckless sprint and sudden disappearance, the suspect didn't vanish without a trace. The vehicle was impounded, and the passenger, who happened to be the registered owner, made things even murkier by refusing to help. With no solid ID and a foot pursuit that came up empty, the case hit a frustrating wall. But one thing's certain: outrunning a pit at 139 miles per hour might make for a wild story, but it's never the smart ending. On a warm afternoon in July 2022, what started as a simple traffic violation spiraled into a tragedy that no one could walk away from unchanged. A 19-year-old man from Kentucky, later identified as John Bomar, drew the attention of Arkansas State Police in Forest City. Reports described him as driving recklessly, endangering lives with every reckless push of the accelerator. What followed would test the limits of both courage and consequence on the open road.
County and City be advised could be in 2013 buses from home to be such tag 14 Edward 72 3 72.
Coming into Cross County. Start at 1016. Start at 1016.
The aftermath was nothing short of heartbreaking. Bomar was ejected from the vehicle and officers rushed to perform life-saving measures on the roadside before he was taken to a nearby hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Prosecutors were left to weigh the legality of the intervention, but the human cost was already carved into memory. It was a tragedy that underscored how a single decision behind the wheel can seal a fate in an instant. On a sunny day in St. Augustine, Florida, troopers spotted a vehicle moving with unusual speed and intent, threading through the flow of traffic. Within moments, the calm of the highway began to unravel. The end came quickly and decisively. The driver's attempt to bolt fell flat, and troopers had him in custody within moments. From reckless driving to felony fleeing and resisting arrest, the list of charges was long. What began with a heavy foot ended with heavy consequences. November 26, 2023 should have been just another evening commute on Bells Ferry Road in Cherokee County, but for one silver Hyundai Santa Fe, it became a stage for reckless decisions. Behind the wheel sat 35-year-old Demetrius Xavier Rumpf, a man already wanted on multiple warrants and no stranger to bolting when police showed up. Instead of pulling over, he chose the one move that always turns a bad night into a disastrous one. He ran.
I'll take the lead off for this time. Going to the light. I'll come up to the right.
After that violent gamble, Rumpf tried his last trick, ditching the car and sprinting. But adrenaline only carries a fugitive so far, and a well-placed taser charge cut his escape short. He was quickly taken into custody, evaluated by paramedics, and booked into jail on a list of charges long enough to fill a page. At the end of the day, his flight only proved one thing: every bad choice eventually catches up, no matter how fast you run. On December 27, 2021, the quiet flow of traffic along Interstate 75 in Bibb County was about to be shattered. A Georgia State Patrol trooper watched as a Ford Ranger came barreling through, clocking in at 90 miles per hour in a 70 zone. For a moment, it looked like the driver might comply, slowing down as the blue lights filled the night. But as every trooper knows, a brief hesitation doesn't always mean surrender.
One 7 outside. One 7 outside.
Inside the battered pickup was 33-year-old Joseph Silas, still strapped in his seatbelt and nursing pain in his arm. He admitted he had been drinking, confessing outright that he had really messed up. Rescue crews pulled him from the wreck, and a blood test confirmed his night of bad choices. He left the hospital with a list of injuries, citations, and a charge of driving under the influence. A harsh reminder that one reckless decision can flip your life upside down faster than your truck rolling down an embankment. On January 13, 2025, a carefully planned takedown was already in motion. Florida Highway Patrol's Criminal Interdiction Unit had been called in by the Broward County Sheriff's Office to help track down a felon with multiple warrants. The target, a sleek black Mercedes SUV weaving its way through Miami-Dade and Broward traffic. Troopers closed in, but what started as a routine traffic stop was about to spiral into something far more chaotic.
We're 1031. To the other side, to the other side, pin him to the other side. Be careful, all right, be careful. Careful.
Any additional units in the area by 95 and Sunrise for 1 hour.
Hey, they're doing good. Go out the window. Go out the window.
With the vehicle disabled and nowhere left to run, 3 occupants climbed out and surrendered. Inside, troopers found 3 firearms, a dangerous discovery that could have spelled disaster for anyone caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. The suspects were checked at the hospital before being booked into the Broward County Jail. Another reminder that running from the law is rarely a winning move, and sometimes the biggest gamble ends in the grass. The late-night calm of June 24, 2023 didn't last long on the I-75-I-85 connector. Just before midnight, Trooper A. Matthews watched a black Chevrolet Camaro with Florida plates dart across lanes like it owned the road. The posted speed limit meant nothing to this driver who swerved, cut too close to other cars, and seemed to be chasing chaos itself. For anyone sharing that stretch of highway, the danger was already clear, and it was about to escalate fast.
1033, Unit 795 and 1080, connector north and 17.
Coming up on the split, coming up on the split.
10-4 coming up on split.
Stay at 85 north, stay at 85 north.
Clear 85 north.
1050, bad 1050, bad 1050. Multiple vehicles at, stand by. Shoot fucking ass! Let me see your fucking ass! Hands up!
The man behind the wheel was later identified as Avion Summers, and his problems didn't stop at reckless driving. From the strong smell of marijuana to bloodshot eyes and slurred speech, every sign pointed toward impairment. When the dust cleared, Trooper Matthews and the off-duty deputy had already sealed his fate with quick, decisive custody. A blood test later sealed the case, and Summers was booked into jail with a long list of charges hanging over him. It started on April 24, 2024, as an almost routine piece of business for Homeland Security in Portland, Oregon. Agents served a search warrant on a registered sex offender suspected of trading in vile images of children. He wasn't cuffed, wasn't shackled, and sat in the passenger seat of an unmarked SUV like a man with no way out. But the moment he heard about the hidden phone agents had uncovered, he turned a minor moment of compliance into the dumbest gamble of his life.
Shutdown, exit 48.
Despite the crash, Travis survived and was immediately taken into custody. He left the scene not in a Homeland Security vehicle, but in the back of a patrol car facing an outstanding warrant and serious federal charges. All told, his split-second choice to grab the wheel ensured he drove himself straight into a far worse future. On December 24th, 2024, Interstate 40 carried the usual stream of holiday travelers. Some drivers hummed along to Christmas songs, others kept their eyes on the fading daylight. But one SUV refused to blend in. A 2006 Honda Pilot tearing down the interstate at 98 miles per hour. When an Arkansas State Police trooper pulled it over, the driver wasn't just speeding. He was carrying secrets he couldn't outrun.
Coming up on moderate traffic, he's all over the road, 604. Passing on the shoulder. TVI. 10-16, roll over.
What unfolded afterward left no second chances. Investigators recovered a revolver fully loaded alongside cocaine hidden in the vehicle, multiple cell phones, a handheld radio, and a set of directions to Oklahoma City suggested a man who lived in motion.
Here's where precision meets pressure. Troopers call out, "Pit, pit," as speeds surge past 100. A tactical vehicle intervention at these velocities isn't just contact. It's commitment. Too soft and he keeps running. Too hard and it's a rollover into traffic. Multiple units stack up. Traffic tightening ahead. Do you take the spin here? Or wait and risk even more chaos?
Always one step away from capture, yet his choices caught up to him on Christmas Eve. The combination of speed, pride, and recklessness turned the highway into his final destination. On December 4th, 2024, a quiet roadside checkpoint in Georgia turned into chaos in a heartbeat. A white Hyundai Elantra rolled up like any other car, but in a flash, its driver stomped the gas and bolted as if the deputies had just pulled a fire alarm. Behind the wheel was Carjuan Eugene Hampton, and in that single reckless choice, he set off a chain of events that would leave more than just a few hearts racing.
Oh, you ready now?
41 rollover.
Both Hampton and Gatlin were hauled off to the hospital before heading straight into the hands of the law. Hampton's charges stack up like a bad poker hand, fleeing from police reckless driving and felony-level drug possession. Gatlin didn't get away clean either, facing his own felonies for drugs and obstruction. Their cases remain tied up in court, but one thing is crystal clear: when you treat the road like a racetrack, the finish line usually leads straight to jail. On February 1st, 2024, in Silver Springs, Florida, a Marion County deputy pulled up to what should have been a routine call. A woman had been reported for trying to snatch another driver's car keys, nothing unusual for law enforcement. But as the deputy stepped out, the situation flipped on its head. The very woman under suspicion suddenly lunged into his patrol car and sped off, leaving the deputy stunned and empty-handed. The wild chase that followed was nothing short of chaos.
It's so bad, she just got in my car, took off.
By the time the dust settled, the driver of the stolen cruiser and 2 innocent victims were pronounced dead, while another survivor clung to life in critical condition. What started as a brazen theft spiraled into one of the worst outcomes possible. It is the kind of story that reminds everyone one reckless act can carry a price no one should have to pay. It was just after 5:30 in the morning when the calm of an early Georgia highway drive was shattered by a blur of blue in the passing lane. While most commuters were still wiping sleep from their eyes, Trooper M. Moores watched a Chevy Camaro blast past him like it had no concept of consequence. Clocking in at well over 100 miles per hour, the car wasn't just fast, it was on a mission. But when Moores hit the lights and sirens, the driver made a decision that would change the course of his morning and his record. A pursuit had just begun, and this one wasn't going to be short on drama.
Attempted pit, getting off at the 26.
Clear. Okay.
Once the chase ended, Wyatt bolted from the disabled car like it was on fire, weaving across a busy interstate, as if the lanes were crosswalks. Trooper Moores stayed in it, pursuing on foot while calling in backup. Villa Rica officers Hemingway and Walton sealed the deal and placed Wyatt in custody. The Camaro, later traced to a dealership theft, was totaled. Wyatt didn't just face traffic violations, he faced serious charges and a long ride to the county jail. On July 10th, 2025, late in the morning, Florida Highway Patrol was running speed enforcement on State Road 408 in Orange County. Among the flow of cars, one stood out, a gray Mercedes GLC flying down the highway well above the posted limit. Its windows were tinted dark, and its presence practically begged for attention. Troopers moved in to initiate a stop, but what seemed routine was about to flip into something very different.
Hold on, Mario. We'll go when he stops. Depot 04 at Mayo. All right, get ready for flying. 54 included if you can. Hold on, Mario. Hold on. Hold me, stop. 54 included if you can. Hold on, Mario. Hold on.
The driver was identified as Darius Demetrius Lowe, a man already on inmate release for a prior fleeing incident. His escape attempt ended with troopers placing him in custody, recovering fentanyl pills, nearly $4,000 in cash, and baggies of leafy substance from his car. The charges piled up fast: fleeing and eluding, narcotics possession, and more. Lowe's choices that morning turned a traffic stop into a crash course in why Florida troopers never back down. On May 1st, 2022, what started as another Arkansas afternoon quickly turned into something else entirely. A driver made the choice to flee, forcing Arkansas State Police Trooper Justin Harper into pursuit. Roads that normally saw Sunday traffic and small-town calm suddenly became a battleground of flashing lights and desperate decisions. By the time the chase pushed toward the heart of town, the pressure was already boiling over.
You just crashed down into another vehicle at California crash.
Emergency crews swarmed the crash site, working to pull the injured drivers to safety. The suspect's reckless bid for escape ended in fractured bones, destroyed cars, and felony charges waiting at the hospital. It is a reminder that outrunning the law is one thing, but outrunning the laws of physics is impossible. On April 17, 2022, troopers in Dade City were already dealing with tragedy. A 49-year-old woman had been killed in a hit-and-run, and investigators were combing US 301 for clues when chaos arrived at their feet. A silver Chevy pickup came barreling straight at them, ignoring every command to stop. Within moments, Florida Highway Patrol troopers went from working a crime scene to launching headfirst into a chase they could not afford to lose.
I'm working on your location now.
The driver was identified as Andrew Crewman, and his reckless night ended with an arrest. His charges stacked up fast: DUI, fleeing and eluding destruction of evidence, aggravated assault with a vehicle, and more. For troopers, it was proof that even in the middle of tragedy, danger can arrive out of nowhere, and it is their job to meet it head-on. On January 24, 2024, a winter night in Arkansas seemed quiet, with traffic flowing steady on Interstate 40. But that calm didn't last. Dispatch crackled with word that Roland police were chasing a blue 2021 Nissan Kicks across the Oklahoma line, and Arkansas State Police were called in to help. What began as routine coordination between agencies would soon unravel into a pursuit that tested the nerves of everyone involved.
One of you by the 10.
10 towards the 10.
At about 115.
Passing 13, before 15.
Okay, Feather's trying to pin him, the guy's trying to avoid him, but Seven's just trying to get him out here.
10 4.
TDI, just past the 13, stand by.
10 4, TVA.
When the dust settled, Eric Boyce and Morris Turner were staring down more than flashing lights. Officers found vacuum-sealed bags of marijuana stacked in the trunk, enough to upgrade their night from reckless driving to felony drug trafficking. Boyce declined medical help. Turner complained of a shoulder injury, but both ended up in custody, all for a desperate run that collapsed in the blink of an eye. July 19, 2025 was not a quiet night in Miami-Dade. What began as an ordinary patrol turned into chaos when word spread that a Pinecrest officer had been struck during a confrontation with a suspect driving an off-road style vehicle. Florida Highway Patrol troopers in the area knew the situation had already escalated beyond a simple pursuit. Every second carried weight, and the stakes could not have been higher.
Alright, I got a visual. We're gonna be southbound Bronco. We're still continuing southbound. There's going to be light traffic. 23 for across street.
Southbound, light traffic 380, verifying your red signal 43 Papa. Westbound, 116 from Com 48.
I got a pit.
The driver was later identified as Adolfo Dennis Jr., whose night of reckless defiance landed him in custody. He was charged with attempted second-degree murder, aggravated battery on an officer, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. In court, his defense tried to argue the charges down, but prosecutors insisted he had deliberately aimed his vehicle at an officer. Though the judge reduced one charge to aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, Dennis was denied bond. One bad choice behind the wheel had just rewritten his future. September 20th, 2023, just after 11 p.m., Trooper Lucas was patrolling Interstate 440 when his routine night got flipped upside down in a split second. Two cars came screaming past at roughly 150 miles per hour, engines howling like they owned the road. One disappeared onto an exit, but the white Dodge Challenger that stayed behind would soon drag everyone into a race against disaster. The man behind the wheel was identified as Dimitri Barton, and his passenger, Amparo Lopez Gomez, was taken out of the vehicle in handcuffs. She later told troopers she begged him to stop, but Barton had other ideas. She complained of shoulder pain and was taken to an ambulance, while Barton was first cleared at the hospital before being booked into the Pulaski County Detention Center. High speeds, reckless choices, and a total disregard for life. This one could have ended much worse. On May 20th, 2023, a black GMC Sierra rolled past troopers on U.S. Highway 67.
Across state lines, one pattern repeats. Reckless flight collapses under coordinated strategy. From textbook TVIs to foot pursuits and high-risk takedowns, patience and precision ended what speed tried to start. Some outcomes were arrests, others tragic reminders of physics and consequence. If you value real pursuit breakdowns like this, hit like, drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for more cinematic, real-world chase analysis.